Not yet spoken and instead plans to address voters today, we understand. Joining us now is chief pollster of the Trafalgar Group and co-host of Polling Plus, Robert Cahaly. Robert, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Republican political analyst and campaign strategist Ford O'Connell with us as well, along with RNC Youth Advisory Council Chairman Brilyn Hollyhand. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being here on this important day. Robert, let me get started with you about these results, how they compared to the polling. What did you see early on, Robert? Because clearly your battleground state polls beat all the others and the networks. You were right on.
Well, one of the things we saw early was there was a I kept talking about the hidden Trump vote. There were people, because of what's been going on, whether it's being targeted, for their perception the government's targeting them, or perception that big tech is targeting them, and somehow to be on some sort of a list and to be canceled or be investigated. And so they were really hesitant to say. And part of it is digging through that and getting to those people and giving them fair representation in polls, and it's not easy. And there are a few of us, like Matt Towery with Insider Advantage, that also do this, but most of the others just miss it, and they missed it in 2020, and they missed it in 2016.
Yeah, I mean, I think women were important here, and that was the secret sauce for President Trump, Ford. And I made the point last night that women are watching this open border affect their kids' learning experiences, because you've got young kids in schools that initially they were in classrooms of 15 kids or 20 kids. Next thing you know, there are 40 kids in the classroom, 50 kids, and half of them don't speak English. Women, I think, were bothered by that, and that's a result of the open border. How did you see it, Ford?
I think you're absolutely right. I think this was the greatest political comeback in American history. And I think what happened here essentially was that Kamala Harris was too focused on Trump's past and not focused enough on America's future. The number one number I come back to is that 28%, only 28% say America's on the right track. For an incumbent party to hold the White House, you need to have that number closer to 42%. And in my home state of Florida, we saw something we've never seen, and that is that Donald Trump won Miami-Dade County, something that hasn't happened since 1988. Not only is this a great comeback for Trump, but this is a mandate, because when you looked inside the numbers, you realize that the top two issues, particularly for independent voters, were the economy and border security. And on that, Donald Trump was speaking to the people, and Kamala Harris was only talking about platitudes.
Yeah, you're right. Her campaign was about attacking Trump as opposed to giving us some idea of what she wants to do. Key voting groups pushing Trump to victory. He led among white women nationally compared to Harris, according to the Fox News voter analysis. He made significant gains among Latino men and women and black men this election. Trump also winning among non-college education men and women, while Harris won among college-educated voters. But Trump still saw major support from college-educated men as well. Brilyn, what about the youth vote? How did young people vote in your view?
Well, it was absolutely major last night. I mean, leading on Reagan today, it's morning in America again, Maria, which is good because President Trump delivered a message of unity when he accepted the presidency a few hours ago. Here's what we know so far. According to those exit polls you just showed, President Trump won first-time voters like myself. He won late deciders. He won suburban women. He won Latino men. He won people who want abortion to be legal. That's major. This was a landslide. He won every single swing state. We just witnessed the greatest political comeback in history. He's been impeached. He's been beat. He's been raided. He's been indicted. He's been arrested. He's been shot. And this morning he won, and he's the 47th president of the United States, packing his bags to move back in the White House for 4 more years. This is a generational change, not only for America, but for the Republican Party for years to come. I couldn't be more excited.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point to talk about the Republican Party overall. This actually could be a sweep. We're waiting, Robert, on the House races to understand whether or not the House is in the GOP control as well. We know that they won the Senate. Your thoughts there?
Well, I think the House will go as the House is probably going to move to a larger majority of the Republicans. I think we're looking at a potential 54, 55 Republican seats in the Senate. So he's going to have a Senate majority that he can lose a couple on the edges and still get something done. And when you got such tight majorities in the House and the Senate, you end up having to make compromises that you don't want to. And I think growing both majorities will help him not be in that position as president.
Ford, your thoughts on that in terms of this broad coalition that seemed to have come out? I mentioned earlier, I think women were a secret weapon. What else?
This is the most diverse coalition a Republican winner has ever had for the presidency. I will say this. Donald Trump will be the first to tell you it's not enough that he's the 47th president of the United States. You have to hold the House of Representatives, because if you don't, we all know exactly what sore losers the Democrats are. And 5 minutes after he's sworn in, they'll start impeaching him again. And that is not what America wants. America wants their problems fixed, and Donald Trump has the solutions, and that's why they voted him back into office.
Yeah, it's a good point, because that's what they want. This is a mandate, Brilyn. Tell me more about that and what Trump can do with this.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, you mentioned you think women's a secret weapon. I also think, like you said, the youth vote's a secret weapon. In 2020, Joe Biden won the youth vote by 25 points. Last night, according to Fox's exit poll, Harris only won the youth vote by 8 points or less. That is a 17-point pendulum shift from the left to the right by my peers. That's something that we're seeing across the board in states across the country, in swing states and non-swing states. That's how we had this landslide victory, not just to take the White House, to take the House, to take the Senate. That is how we get things done for youth voters that are one day going to be taking the torch to the Republican Party. And that's how we're getting generational change for decades to come. This is a major night for the future of the party.
Kamala Harris kept trying to fashion her campaign around freedom, but I think most people saw freedom in the Trump campaign, because everyone remembers how they were censored on social media during COVID. They remembered some of the indictments that were pointed at President Trump. Robert, speak to that for a moment. Do you think that, in fact, all of the negatives around Trump had people saying, I'm done with this?
I mean, going back to the primaries, when it looked like it could be competitive at first, and then the indictment started rolling, he got bigger every time.
Yeah.
What we found is people that were telling us, you know, I don't particularly like Trump, but I'm sick of this. And it's like, I want to stick it to them for doing this to Trump, even though I'm not crazy about Trump. That's what people were telling us.
Yeah.
They were just angry. This was their way to get back.
Yep, and they did. Okay, we will leave it there. Robert Cahaly, Ford O'Connell, Brilyn Hollyhand, thanks very much. Great conversation, gentlemen. We'll be right back.